Vladimir Putin, the current president of Russia, is a figure of immense global significance. His reign, marked by stability and international tension, has left an indelible mark on the geopolitical landscape. Understanding Putin's life, from his childhood in Leningrad to his rise to power, is crucial for comprehending modern Russia. This essay will explore the key events and influences that shaped his worldview and actions. Putin's story is one of ambition, ruthlessness, and belief in Russian strength. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, in 1952. His childhood was humble, far removed from the halls of power he would one day occupy. Leningrad, still bearing the scars of World War II, was a city of resilience and hardship. The siege of Leningrad, a brutal 872-day ordeal during the war, left an enduring mark on the city and its inhabitants, including a young Putin. Putin's parents, Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin and Maria Ivanovna Shelemova, were working-class citizens. His father was a factory worker and a veteran of the war, having served in the Soviet Navy's submarine fleet. His mother worked various jobs, including as a factory worker and a cleaner. Putin's upbringing was marked by the values of patriotism, hard work, and respect for authority, instilled in him by his parents and the environment he grew up in. Putin showed an early interest in sports, particularly judo and sambo, a Soviet martial art. These disciplines instilled in him a sense of discipline, focus, and strategic thinking, qualities that would serve him well in his later years. He excelled academically and showed a particular aptitude for German, a skill that would prove useful during his time in the KGB. After completing his secondary education, Putin attended Leningrad State University, graduating in 1975 with a degree in law. While at university, he joined the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, a decision that reflected his ambition and the political realities of the time. It was during his university years that Putin's interest in intelligence work began to take shape. He came into contact with KGB recruiters who were impressed by his intellect, linguistic skills, and unwavering patriotism. In 1975, Putin fulfilled his ambition of joining the KGB, the Soviet Union's feared security and intelligence agency. He underwent rigorous training, honing his skills in espionage, counterintelligence, and foreign intelligence operations. His work with the KGB instilled in him a deep sense of secrecy, a distrust of the West, and a belief in the importance of maintaining control. Putin's KGB career took him to East Germany, where he served as an intelligence officer in Dresden. His time in East Germany coincided with a period of immense change in Eastern Europe. The Berlin Wall fell in 1989, and the Soviet Union, weakened by internal strife and economic stagnation, began to crumble. These events had a profound impact on Putin's worldview, shaping his views on the West and the need for a strong Russia. Section 5. The collapse of an empire and a new beginning. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 was a pivotal moment in Putin's life. It marked the end of the world he knew, the world of the KGB and the Soviet Empire. Returning to a Russia in turmoil, Putin left the KGB and entered the world of politics. He began his political career in St. Petersburg, serving as an advisor to the city's mayor, Anatoly Sobchak. Putin's time in St. Petersburg was marked by a steep learning curve as he navigated the complexities of post-Soviet politics. He quickly gained a reputation for his competence, his ability to get things done, and his unwavering loyalty to his superiors. These qualities attracted the attention of powerful figures in Moscow, leading to his recruitment to the Kremlin. Entering the corridors of power. In 1996, Putin moved to Moscow and joined the presidential administration of Boris Yeltsin. Yeltsin, the first president of the Russian Federation, was struggling to maintain control amidst economic chaos and political instability. Putin's rise through the ranks of the Kremlin was swift. He held a series of key positions, including head of the Federal Security Service, the FSB, the successor agency to the KGB, and secretary of the Security Council. Putin's loyalty, efficiency, and his background in intelligence made him an invaluable asset to Yeltsin. As Yeltsin's health deteriorated and his grip on power weakened, Putin emerged as a potential successor. In a surprise move on December 31, 1999, Yeltsin resigned and appointed Putin as acting president of Russia. from acting president to supreme leader. Putin's ascension to the presidency was solidified in March 2000 when he won his first presidential election. He promised to restore order, rebuild the economy, and restore Russia's standing in the world. His early presidency was marked by a combination of economic reforms, a crackdown on dissent, and a more assertive foreign policy. Putin's popularity soared as the Russian economy began to recover, fueled by rising oil prices. Putin consolidated his power by reining in the oligarchs, the wealthy businessmen who had amassed vast fortunes during the chaotic privatization of the 1990s. He brought the media under tighter state control and silenced critical voices. By the end of his second term in 2008, Putin had established himself as the undisputed leader of Russia. Putin's Russia resurgence on the world stage. Under Putin's leadership, Russia reasserted itself on the world stage. He pursued a more assertive foreign policy, challenging what he saw as Western encroachment on Russia's sphere of influence. He rebuilt the Russian military, modernized its weaponry, and projected Russian power abroad. The 2008 Russo-Georgian War, a brief but decisive conflict over the breakaway regions of South Ossetia and Abkhazia, demonstrated Russia's willingness to use military force to protect its interests. Putin cultivated relationships with leaders around the world, seeking to strengthen Russia's ties with countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. He positioned Russia as a counterweight to the United States, advocating for a multipolar world order. His vision of a strong and resurgent Russia resonated with many Russians, who yearned for the stability and global influence of the Soviet era. The annexation of Crimea and the war in Ukraine. In 2014, Putin's Russia made a bold move that sent shockwaves through the international community: the annexation of Crimea from Ukraine. Following a pro-Western revolution in Ukraine that ousted pro-Russian President Viktor Yanukovych, Russian troops without insignia took control of key facilities in Crimea. A hastily organized referendum, widely condemned as illegitimate, paved the way for Russia's formal annexation of Crimea. The annexation was met with international condemnation and sanctions. It also marked the beginning of a conflict in eastern Ukraine, where Russian-backed separatists launched an insurgency. The war in Ukraine has become a defining feature of Putin's later presidency, exacerbating tensions between Russia and the West. A legacy cast in shadow and uncertainty. Vladimir Putin's legacy is a complex and contested one. He is credited by many Russians with restoring stability and prosperity to a country reeling from the collapse of the Soviet Union. He is praised for his strong leadership, his unwavering patriotism, and his ability to stand up to the West. However, his rule has also been marked by a shrinking space for dissent, human rights abuses, and a foreign policy that has left Russia increasingly isolated on the world stage. The war in Ukraine in particular has cast a long shadow over Putin's legacy. It has raised profound questions about his judgment, his motivations, and his commitment to international law. As the conflict continues, its ultimate impact on Ukraine, Russia, and the wider world remains uncertain. Putin's inner circle and the oligarchs. Central to understanding Vladimir Putin's rule is the role of his inner circle and the oligarchs. Putin surrounds himself with a tight-knit group of loyalists, many of whom have ties to the security services or share his KGB past. These individuals hold key positions of power and influence, shaping policy and ensuring the implementation of Putin's will. The oligarchs, a class of wealthy businessmen who emerged in the aftermath of the Soviet collapse, have a complex and often fraught relationship with Putin. While Putin initially moved to curb their power and influence, he has also relied on their wealth and connections to advance his economic and geopolitical goals. This delicate balancing act has ensured a degree of stability, but has also fueled accusations of corruption and cronyism. Conclusion: an enigma wrapped in history. Vladimir Putin's life and career have been shaped by the tumultuous times he has lived through. From his childhood in Leningrad to his rise to the presidency, he has navigated periods of immense change and upheaval. His worldview, forged in the crucible of the Cold War and tempered by the chaos of the post-Soviet era, continues to inform his actions on the world stage. Putin's legacy is still being written, whether he will be remembered as the man who restored Russia to greatness, or as the leader who plunged his country into isolation and conflict remains to be seen. One thing is certain: Vladimir Putin is a figure of immense historical significance, whose actions will continue to reverberate for decades to come.